As promised, this is the second part of the video on regenerative agriculture. So today you've got Rob Shaw from GRAF talking to Peter McSparren. He further exposes on regenerative agriculture and the fact that it often requires more chemical use rather than eliminating chemical use. So let's hear what he has to say.
I think what everyone forgets, though, that often when you start doing those processes, you might be working better on the cultivation of the soil, but if you're a small scale farmer or a small farmer, you will need to use chemicals. And I don't know whether people have worked on the balance of that, because when you have a lot of cover on top of your soil and in your soil, then the insects do really flourish. And certainly there's a lot of good things in the soil, but then there's a lot of bad things and the weed challenges. So someone at some stage has to have a look at it and say, right, we've benefited from looking after the soil. How much harm are we doing long-term with the use of all these extra chemicals? But there's no doubt there's more chemicals used in that type of production.
Yeah. There seems to be this view that anything synthetic and chemical-based is bad if it's used in food production, and yet people are quite happy to take medicines, and they have a kitchen cupboard full of cleaning materials that are full of chemicals. Do you think it's all a bit of nonsensical?
I think so. I think that there's definitely, certain chemicals you should avoid, but I think you've got to have a balanced look at it. I think, for instance, that Europe saying, and most African countries saying, oh, we can't use GMO, but GMO in Africa would change agriculture, especially for those small farmers who have to cultivate their own land. They can't expand beyond what they can cultivate themselves. Well, you talked earlier about, will the model grow? Well, it can't grow unless they have got access to the right technology, and GMO would be one of them. And obviously it takes the use of chemicals, but it would make their life very, very, very much easier and make them food secure. But the politicals stop it. And if they're stopping it in the Western world, certainly, they seem to have indoctrinated the politicals in Africa and the third world not to use this stuff. Well, these are the big challenges in life.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember when GMOs made the headlines in the UK, and it was labeled Frankenstein food. And was that when it all kicked off in Africa? And was it what drove that? Was it political? Was it donors? Was it well-meaning people who were misguided?
Well, I think a lot of the issues come through from maybe that limiting to NGOs is wrong. But a lot of I'll be quite honest, the left, what they see themselves as social do-gooders, impose on what their thoughts are onto Africa, and indoctrinated a lot of the emerging young Africans at that time, and even the traditional Africans in a way are scared of science. So they got it in their heads that GMO were dangerous. A lot of other things are dangerous as well. And it just seems to have stuck. It's almost like in Africa, rather than, it's like a conservatism. Oh, that's new, we can't do it. I mean, it's maybe a bit like sexual attitudes. It's new, so you can't change how it has been traditionally while the West changed. But unlike in the West, where it's driven by maybe liberal thoughts on how people gender, etc. In Africa, they seem to be happy that it remains as it is. But when it comes to chemicals, the use of chemicals, use of fertilizers, then they want to impose their views onto it.